next on ACC Live. All 4 ACC teams in the tourney are in action today.
Miami, the 2013 ACC champion.
Can the Canes keep up their storm surge against Pacific? The Blue Devils are a 2 seed again, just like last year. What they must do to make sure they don't have another early exit.
Oh my! P.J. Hairston!
Carolina tries to make a run as an 8 seed. They need to make it clear to Nova it's a no-go. And NC State needs to rediscover last year's Sweet 16 magic. ACC fans, which team do you think will go the furthest? Your predictions. Our own J.R. Reid chimes in too. ACC Live Tip-Off starts now. Welcome to a special ACC Live Tip-Off. He is North Carolina and an NBA great, J.R. Reid. I'm Jeff Fischel. The NCAA Tournament, it starts today for ACC fans. JR, what's the one thing you're keeping an eye on today with 4 ACC teams going?
Man, I'm looking forward to this NC State-Temple matchup. 2 different styles of play. This is going to be an exciting game.
We will be breaking down that game. By the way, yesterday wasn't completely devoid of madness for ACC fans. Future ACC schools were in action. Louisville, Syracuse won. Pitt lost and ruined my bracket on day 1. Notre Dame plays tonight. And how about Harvard over New Mexico? The biggest upset so far in the tournament. Harvard's head coach, of course, former Duke star Tommy Amaker. The 4 ACC schools ready to go. Check out North Carolina's JP Tokoto from practice yesterday. That's Joel James as the human prop. 6'10", Joel James, JR.
Oh, man, Roy letting them get loose after some a good workout, keeping the guys' spirits good. You like to see this stuff during tournament time. That's nice.
Thanks to Inside Carolina for sharing that with us. We're asking you, which ACC team has the easiest path to the Final Four? It won't be easy, but who could put together 4 straight wins and get to Atlanta? Tweet us at the ACCDN, or you can tweet JR or I. Myself, at JRReid7. I am Jeff Fischel. JB, show them what's up today for the ACC. Albany and Duke. All those Duke alumni living in the Northeast. They get to go to a game.
Loving it today.
It's in Philly. Temple and North Carolina State. That's in Dayton. Miami gets the Big West champ. Pacific in Austin, Texas tonight. Carolina and Villanova meet up in Kansas City. The Tar Heels are an 8 seed. And I've got to say, JR, they're not afraid to say it. They're insulted by it.
Well, yeah, you got to be.
Of course, we wanted a higher seed. But I think it kind of helped us also because kind of put anger in everybody to, go down there and, to prove everybody that we deserve a higher seed. Just looking forward to playing Villanova.
I don't mind telling you, I was stunned when I saw the North Carolina and the number 8. I was stunned, and so then it took me a couple seconds. Hey, that's us. It's not somebody else. That's us. And so then everybody clapped. But North Carolina's never going to have one of those tremendous celebrations because we expect to be there.
Of course, we all thought we'd be higher, but at the same time, we got the 8 seed, and we still have to come out and play North Carolina basketball regardless what seed we are.
All right, JR, so it sounds like they're a little frustrated by getting an 8 seed, but perhaps they're using it as motivation.
Yes, Jeff. And what do? You didn't get the seed that you thought you should have gotten, but what do? You go out and you prepare and play. And I think P.J. Hairston has the right mindset. Doesn't matter where you put it in the tournament, you're in the tournament. Just get out there, get it done, stick to your game plan.
Let's go back to the J.R. Reid days in Chapel Hill. What did Dean Smith say about the pressure of the tournament, about seeds, all that kind of stuff?
Well, I'll tell you, as a freshman, man, he just kept me scared to death, man. I did not want to disappoint this man. And he had us preparing for games, and the teams we were meeting in the first round, we had number 1 seeds most of the time. He would have you thinking they had 5 NBA first-rounders. They're going to pound us on the board. I'm scared to death. But that's how Coach Smith took that was his approach to every game.
Sure. So let's break down this Carolina-Villanova matchup. The Cats, they've got some great wins this year. Louisville, Syracuse, Marquette, and Georgetown, those are some great upsets. What can we expect from Carolina to exploit in this Villanova team?
Well, Jeff, I think against Villanova, you're going to see Carolina exploit their bigs. They're going to have a chance to have P.J. Hairston at the 4th spot and sometime Reggie Bullock at the 3. Here, you see against Miami, the bigs are on the perimeter against Hairston. And look, just a slight step-in screen. All they had to do was switch, but there's lack of communication because the bigs are not used to coming out. Right here, Boston College gets a little taste. You get the center rotating out to the perimeter guys. Here, not used to them on the perimeter again. Carolina's going to run this 1-4 high force set, and they're going to keep the ball moving, to get the ball to the open guy's hand, and make the bigs make decisions to come out of the paint to guard them.
Now, if you haven't seen Villanova play this year, keep an eye on Javon Pinkston. He is a solid player, gets to the foul line. He's been in double figures the last 11 games. He's a great player.
Yeah, a little bird in my ear here told us that he's a great player, and I'm looking forward to him coming out. Carolina's got to try to contain him on the glass.
Now, I will say Carolina has gotten improved play from the point. Brett Freelander from the Wilmington Star-News, he has a great ACC blog. He tweeted this out, and he's absolutely right. As freshman point guard Marcus Page has blossomed, so has UNC. He'll be a key in the game against Nova. Now,
yes,
of course, Page has the occasional game where he struggles, but it seems like if you trend over the season, he's gotten much better.
Yes, he has. From the beginning of the season, as we talked about here, Jeff, this Carolina team was going to improve, and he's been one of the main reasons they've gotten better at their assist to turnover ratio. Coming into Carolina, this is probably the toughest place to be a point guard. And Coach Williams puts a lot of pressure on his points, and now he's starting to reap some of the benefits of his maturation.
That backcourt is very reliable now for Roy Williams. Dexter Strickland, I think, is #1 in the ACC in assist to turnover ratio, and now Page was fantastic in the tournament. 17 assists, just 3 turnovers in the ACC tournament. That's exactly what that team needs. The ACC's other 8 seed also going up against a Philly school, Temple. The Owls won 9 of 10 to finish the regular season. Then they lost their first game in the A10 tournament. NC State's been criticized for its defense. Now they have to deal with a great scorer.
Khalif Wyatt is a tremendous scorer, and he really gets it done for Temple. And NC State's going to have their job cut out because he's an old-school Philadelphia guard, 19 points a game, player of the year, as you mentioned, in the conference, Atlantic 10. They've got to do a good job of pinching on him and keeping him out of the paint.
You talk about old school. When Mark Gottfried was talking about Wyatt, he compared him to World B. Free.
Oh, wow. I know no one listening to the show has any idea who that is. You mean Meta?
World B. Free, one of the great scorers in the NBA in the
Legend.
late 70s. Kids, do your homework. Look him up. He was awesome. That's right. We'll probably see Lorenzo Brown on him, right? And, as much as NC State gets criticized for defense, Lorenzo Brown has been solid.
He's one of the best defenders in the league, but they don't want to get him early. On Khalif Wyatt early. Don't want him picking up early fouls. Maybe later on in the game, look for the shift to get him on there later.
And he's obviously got to contribute at both ends.
Yes. And right here, you're going to see what NC State wants to do. You're going to see Low Brown pinching back, helping on the big right here, but yet able to get back to the guard, contest the shot, and NC State's able to corral the ball and get going the other way. Here, more of the same. Here, a hard drive on the baseline. The offensive player thinks he's got a layup, but big Richard Howell's there to shut the door on him, contain the ball again, kick it to Low Brown. And here, and this is what they want to do off a good defense, transition. Getting the ball in Lorenzo Brown's hand, one of the best point guards in the country. Getting it here, open threes, easy buckets in transition, giving the big guys opportunities to crash the offensive board. This is what NC State wants to do. They want to control tempo, get the ball into C.J. Leslie's hand, and let him handle his business.
The key against Temple is tempo.
Absolutely. Up-tempo for State, yes.
The third team from the Carolina Triangle, Duke. The Blue Devils have a 15-seed Albany. Last year, as a 2-seed, Duke lost to 15-seed Lehigh, but Ryan Kelly was hurt and didn't play. Coach K says if you want to talk recent history, he's thinking more about being national champs in 2010 than the upset last year.
No, I think you got to do right now, and with the seniors, I want them to focus a little bit on when they were freshmen. That was pretty good. They won a national championship. Remember? That did happen here. In the last 17 years, our team has either been a 1 or a number 2 seed. That's more than any conference. If you combine all the teams in a conference. And so there's an amazing level of consistent excellence. And so when you have a time where that's all right. So I need music for this. It helps. Not that kind of music. But, what I'm saying, it's just human nature. I don't think it's a big thing. I think, I knew how I was preparing my team. I thought we could still play well. I didn't pull out the whip or, in other words, during the week. In other words, and not that I pull out a whip now, and I don't have a whip, by the way. It's a figure of speech. Just Got to be politically correct.
Coach K having some fun. He's in a good mood joking around,
Yeah,
JR.
Coach K is one of the best at this time of the year. And you know he's getting his team in the right mindset. He wants them a little loose. They were a little tight going into the ACC tournament, so I like him joking. I think this is good for Duke.
And it is those veterans, Ryan Kelly and Mason Plumlee, the guys who have already won that title back in 2010, who give Duke a big advantage today against the Great Danes.
Well, that's why Coach K can be a little relaxed. You know that these guys are going to want to get that bad taste out of their mouth. And I think for Duke, it all starts inside with big Mason Plumlee. They're a throwback team in that they have a dominating center. They have a big. They're not playing outside. They're playing outside in where other teams are playing inside out. And that gives them a big advantage. But what that allows them to do is give it the ball to a guy inside who can score. And if you have to double them, which Pacific's going to have to do because they don't have any bigs inside, this allows him to go to work, and if you double, he can kick it out to Ryan Kelly. He can kick it out to Seth Curry. He can get it back out to Quinn Cook. So he's got shooters stationed around him in that 1-4 high set that Coach K loved so much. Duke is going to be ready to play in this tournament.
So you're confident last year's a distant memory?
I think for them, they want it to be, but the only way you can get that memory out of your mind is to get on the court and get it done. And they need to go out and have a good showing here early so people will try to forget about that ugly loss.
And again, Ryan Kelly did not play last year.
He
was
did not.
hurt. We know how important he's been to them since he's returned from the injury. The other ACC 2 seed doesn't have the long history of Final Fours and doesn't have the legendary coach yet. It's Miami's just their 7th trip to the NCAA Tournament. The Canes just one Sweet 16 in school history, but Jim Larrañaga doing a phenomenal job, and maybe he can make another Final Four just like he did at George Mason. He says this team is special to him.
This team has all the ingredients to win every game it plays. Unfortunately, it also has some ingredients and characteristics that we could lose to anybody as well. But in terms of the success and the level of competition that we have faced throughout this season, toughest non-conference schedule in the history of the school, an ACC road schedule that leads to a 15-3 record with a 7-2 record on the road. That's very, very impressive. And we've got size, we've got speed, we've got shooting ability, we can defend, we can rebound. And it's a very, very good team. Now, with that being said, the teams we're playing are very, very good as well. And we're going to have to play great to win.
When you have expectations and people are expecting you to win, it shows that they know that you're good and they know that you're going to come out and play good basketball. So, I mean, we take a lot of pride in that. At the same time, like I said before, you have to go out and play the game. Like, you can have as much talent and as many wins, and we can be the ACC champions, but if we don't go out on that day and prove it, it won't matter.
This is a veteran team. These got a lot of seniors on this team, but it doesn't mean they're experienced at handling the pressure of being a 2 seed.
You're right on, Jeff, and they've never been there. And we talked about in the story, they have not had an opportunity to get to the big dance, so they're excited, and they're not knowing. This is new territory for them. So this is when they're going to have to rely on Coach Larrañaga. He's been there. He's been doing it for years, and they've got a veteran group of guys that are hungry, and that's a good addition to have.
Taking on Pacific, the 15 seed in the East region at 2 o'clock, and much like the Duke game, when you're going against these 15, 16 seeds, you've just got a big size advantage, especially when you're a team like Miami with the biggest front court in the country.
Absolutely, and if you got it, you might as well use it. And this is when it's going to start. For Miami, it's going to be inside with big Reggie Johnson. He took the ACC tournament off on us, but he should be rested and ready to go, working his magic like that in the post.
He disappear in Greensboro.
Yes,
no doubt.
he struggled a little bit, but I think Reggie knows what job is at hand for him. He knows that they need him to throw jump hooks, establish himself early in the post, because in return, that gives him open outside shots. Here, deep position, give him the ball 3 seconds earlier. Julian Gamble had the smaller Carolina guy in the post, but they waited, but he still was able to keep it high and score. And this is what I love about them. They need to get Kenny Kaji a look, beautiful double screen. Get him in the paint. Your senior recognizes. See where the defense is coming. makes a strong move without creating the offensive foul. This is what you're able to do when you've got veteran kids on here with ages that are older than some NBA teams. So when you have guys on your team that you can lean on like this, without you can give them the ball and not turn the ball over. Coach Larinaga's got to love his chances going into the big dance.
I still may have some eligibility to play basketball at Miami at my age. If Miami wins, they get the Illinois-Colorado winner in the next round. Now, how far will Miami go in the tournament? Will any team make it further than the Canes? Tweet us your thought. Which ACC team makes the best run through the brackets? Tweet us at the ACCDN. He's at JRReid7. I'm at Jeff Fischel. Your comments coming up in just a couple of minutes. We also want to know what you think. But are you as smart or smarter than the computer? The game simulator makes its picks for all 4 games today, and we'll see if it's thinking the same thing as the fans and JR. That's next on ACC Live.
Out with the old and in with the delicious. Commit to bold taste with the new Flavor Resolutions menu at Ruby Tuesday. 10 entrees starting at $9.99. Try our savory barbecue brushed ribs and bacon wrapped shrimp. Or take it up a notch by adding coconut-crusted shrimp to our mango salsa-topped Caribbean chicken. Plus, enjoy our endless free with any chef-inspired entree. Ruby Tuesday. It's all good here. Start the new year with savings. Visit rubytuesday.com today for a $5 coupon.
What's better, bigger or smaller?
Bigger!
So which would you rather have, a big treehouse or a small treehouse?
If it's big enough, you can have a disco. Oh, yeah.
Why do you not want a smaller treehouse?
Because it wouldn't be able to fit a flat screen TV, and then the TV would be about this big, and you would have to hold the wire. In the position you would hold the wire, you wouldn't be able to see the TV.
That's a pain in the buns.
Yep. Yeah.
It's not complicated. Bigger is better, and AT&T has the nation's largest 4G network.
The ACC Digital Network, the ultimate video destination for ACC fans. Exclusive highlights, live streaming games, and original live programming, unique access to the student athletes of our time and the legendary voices of all time. Defining moments, personal stories, incredible analysis from authentic ACC sources, cutting-edge content from the leaders in the digital space. The ACC Digital Network, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday.
Good afternoon, Chase Sapphire. This is Stacy from Springfield.
Oh,
hello.
Hello? Yes, I didn't realize you'd be talking to an actual person.
You don't need to press 0. I'm here.
Reach a person, not a prompt, whenever you call Chase Sapphire.
This dunk of the day brought to you by Ruby Tuesday.
Alley-oop. Yes, sir. Bullock finding Johnson. And Bryce was right for that one.
Wow, that is right out of the playbook for Roy Williams, who loves to throw that lob from the strong side. You happen to get that little screen at the top. You think you're safe. You fall asleep on the weak side defensively, and that was a beautiful pass.
Start the new year with savings. Visit rubytuesday.com to get $5 off 2 entrees.
Welcome back to ACC Live Tipoff. That's North Carolina's Bryce Johnson. He is former North Carolina great J.R. Reid. I'm Jeff Fischel. J.R., the Tar Heels, they're young. They began the year as inexperienced, but not anymore.
Not anymore. This team has really progressed under Coach Williams. I said on Twitter that this is Coach Williams' most masterful season of coaching. You know, it's easy to coach when you've got Tyler Hansborough and you've got Tyler Zeller, but when you've got a bunch of freshmen coming in there inexperienced and get them to where they are right now, that's beautiful.
We talked about them being an 8 seed. They don't like it. And I think they're right in the sense that, sure, if you look at the season as a whole, maybe they're an 8 seed. But start where they were at the beginning of the year to where they are now, I mean, they're basically playing like a 4 seed right about now. They've been that good.
They really have. They really have, Jeff.
It's time for other stories from around the conference. This is the ACC Now. Maryland made its case again for being the #1 snub by the NCAA. The Terps won again in the NIT, beating Denver 62-52. Mark Turgeon's team closed with a 23-4 run. One more win, they'll get to play in Madison Square Garden in the NIT Final Four. The North Carolina State women also advanced in the NIT last night. They beat Richmond 60-55. Nice night for Cody Burke. 12 points, 9 rebounds, a pair of blocks. Next up for Kelly Harper's team, James Madison, the school, not the dead president. It's a big weekend for ACC baseball. 6 teams in the top 25. North Carolina is #1 in the Baseball America poll. Tar Heels are at BC. 2 matchups feature 2 teams in the poll, NC State and UVA, Georgia Tech, Florida State. That series streams live this weekend on ESPN3. You can watch all the games, and that's the ACC Now. Now we're asking you, which ACC team has the clearest path to Atlanta and the Final Four? Jeremy Rogers tweeted us with this. He says, Duke has the easier bracket. Easier than who?
Ooh,
the Midwest is brutal.
He's nipping early this morning. I think he's got a little sip in.
Yeah, I think we both agree. If you start with Louisville as the #1 seed in the Midwest, and then you have Michigan State right after Duke as the 3 seed, it's going to be tough for any team to get through.
Yeah, they've got a tough go of it.
All right, so Matthew Miller tweeted us. He's being a smart guy. Clemson has an easy path. Just have to buy 5 tickets. Get them some seats. Just drive a couple hours and you're there. Can't argue with that. Clemson has a relative, although I guess Georgia Tech has it even easier. They're just right down the street. We also asked fans to vote on Facebook which team will make the deepest run in the tournament. Canes fans representing early in the morning. 35% say Miami is the best bet to go to the Final Four. Duke, 26%. North Carolina fans calling for that upset over Kansas in the second round in Kansas City. It could be tough, but certainly Carolina's playing at a high level. 17% say NC State. That's actually probably about the odds I'd give NC State of beating Temple and Indiana and getting through the Sweet 16. It will be tough, but that team has talent. Thank you to everyone for voting. And again, you can keep tweeting us as well at the ACCDN. He's at JRReid7, or just tweet it to me at Jeff Fischel. Now it's time to find out what the computer says will happen today. The game simulator for SCACCHoops.com has predicted conference games for us all season. Now we've asked website creator and editor John Pence to run the numbers for today's 4 games. JR, what do you think? Duke easy. Oh, he says all 4 ACC teams winning.
I'm with him. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with him today, man. I'm with him on that. I think he's absolutely right on his picks.
And his closest, the game sim says NC State. That's the closest game over Temple. Do you agree with that?
I think so.
That's
I think NC State gets out. It's going to be a hard-fought, ugly game, but I think the athletes that they have on the court gets it done.
So it looks like the easiest game there he had was Duke over Albany. You know, it's fun to watch. They have a great mascot, the Great Danes, but I don't know.
He went out on the limb on that pick, didn't he? Picked him over Albany.
16 might be a bit conservative with that one. All right, JR is here all day to break down every ACC game. So as the day goes on and you want even more about ACC basketball, come back to the ACC Digital Network. JR and I will be watching the games throughout the day. Tweet us. We will tweet you back. Sometimes we talk hoops. Sometimes we just talk about whatever. We tweet whatever comes to our heads, and sometimes there's just nothing up there, too. He's JRReid7. I'm at Jeff Fischel. Miami, Duke, NC State, Carolina fans, have a great time today. Good luck. Thanks for watching ACC Live on the ACC Digital Network, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday.